Welcome to the Cuse Militia podcast with those two unapologetically biased, orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
What's up, Cuse Nation? Thanks for tuning into the Cuse Militia podcast with Sean and Joe. If you like it, please share it. The universal handle for the socials is at Cuse Militia. Go there, join the militia. We are the only Syracuse sports podcast centered around giving you, the fans, a voice. Welcome. Happy Saturday. Yay, it's Saturday. Saturday's arguably the best day of the week, right? I mean, for me it is, anyway.
No. Yeah. I mean, maybe not during these quarantine times. It might be all the same for a lot of people. But
it's the only day you don't work and you don't have to work the next day. For me.
Okay, true.
Get what I'm saying? So we did an episode of Orange Heat last night with Giovanni and Cuse Waterboy.
Yes, we did.
And that's not going to be out right now, but that's going to be on Gio's YouTube channel, and we'll share that. We did about 3 extra hours, but we only recorded.
Look.
We only recorded for one. Should have just recorded the whole thing and made it a mini-series, now that I think about it.
That's what I thought we were doing.
So today we've got, I've got Tyler coming on. We are going to, with Tyler and Joe, we're going to go over some of the Syracuse football seniors who may or may not have success in the draft. We'll let those guys talk about that. Also be on the lookout for an interview Tyler and I will be doing with Malcolm Folk. He is the second verbal commit of the 2021 Syracuse football recruiting class, and he is raising a lot of eyebrows, and also fans are getting pretty excited for him, so I'm really excited for that interview, so stay tuned. That should drop shortly. And I guess, is that it? Is that it for the announcements?
Yeah.
Well, all right, you know what that means. There's just one thing left to do, and that is to hear from the folks over at LinkedIn. Now, look, the talent pool has grown exponentially, and if you are a business owner and you want to have an impact on your business for years to come, well, go to LinkedIn Jobs. If you need to find the next person to help grow your business, LinkedIn Jobs will match the right talent with the open role fast. LinkedIn has over 675 million members worldwide. LinkedIn Jobs screens candidates with the hard and soft skills you're looking for so you can hire the right person fast. Things like collaboration, creativity, adaptability. LinkedIn looks beyond the work skills and puts your job post in front of qualified candidates who match your business requirements perfectly. That's how LinkedIn makes sure your job post is seen by the people you want to hire, people with skills, qualifications, and other interests that will help your business grow. It's no wonder a person is hired every 8 seconds with LinkedIn, and why companies rated LinkedIn Jobs the #1 hiring platform delivering quality hires. Find the right person for your business today with LinkedIn Jobs. You can pay whatever you want. Get the first $50 off. Just visit linkedin.com/team. Again, that's linkedin.com/team to get that $50 off your first job post. Terms and conditions apply. Thanks, LinkedIn. All right. Well, let's bring on Tyler. All right, joining us now is the one, the only, Tyler Marona, at Tyler Marona on Twitter. If you're not there, get there. Give old Tyler a follow. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We're great,
What's
man.
up, buddy?
We're great. It's Saturday.
Are you just like weaving the music in and out? Like, what's going on?
Is it coming in and out on you? It's not on me.
Kind of goes down a little bit when we start
talking. It sounds like you're like adjusting the volume. Like you're just like playing with it.
No,
like you're trying to be cool.
I just fade it out. When I talk, you can't hear the music sometimes. Why that is, I don't know. I think it's because when you guys plug headphones in, that happens. So welcome. You know what we're going to talk about today, Tyler? We're going to talk football today, so you should be happy. Okay?
I am.
Okay, we're not going to talk music. We're not seeding bands in a silly tournament that was all for naught.
God.
We're not playing any more of those games. It is all Cuse from here on out. No more Cuse Militia filler. We're done with it. So, we are here to talk about this past year's seniors, where you guys think they may or may not land in the draft. I've kind of narrowed it down. If you've got someone to add, now I've narrowed it down to the probable, or to the possible. Okay? So I don't think all of these. I think probably maybe between 1 and 3 maybe get a shot. maybe round 2 even. So, but I want to hear what you guys think. So I got Tristan Jackson, Mo Neal, Lakeem Williams, Alton Robinson, and Kendall Coleman is my list. I've narrowed it down to. Okay. So do you think, or in Sterling Hoffrichter, that's a possibility too. So let's start there.
We're special teams man.
Yeah, let's start with Sterling because he was marvelous. He's been marvelous. He did make a 52-yard field goal too last year, didn't he?
That was
1 for 1.
The clear blue sky.
Yeah,
I remember seeing that, just being like, my brain exploded. I was like, dude, this guy is like unreal.
Right.
Yeah, when he was coming out of high school, I think he was a top 10 punter and kicker.
Wow.
So he could have went both ways.
That's crazy.
52 yards.
You know how it goes every once in a while.
Yeah.
You get those big colleges that a lot of times they don't waste the scholarships there, right? Because they know that they can get guys to come there, right?
Yeah, they'll never a lot of schools won't give an incoming freshman a scholarship, no matter what. So, which I don't know. I don't really believe in that. I think scholarship, your top 5 specialists. I don't really think that's it. If you're doing it right. Where you get into trouble is you do have to have one backup somewhere on a walk-on, not on scholarship. That's where the real, to me, same thing, the way the NFL make their teams. You got to be kind of strategic on how you place it all together. That's the one thing in college where I feel you kind of got to be more of a GM type of deal. Because you can have dude, there's 20 D linemen on scholarship. So you should be fine there, but you get what I'm saying.
I think that's where it helps Syracuse getting the punters in the history that we have because they're willing to come out and actually offer that scholarship, right? I think that goes for probably the guy that's coming in too, James Williams from Georgia. When you look at him, he's one of the better kickers out there, and you wonder, if Georgia, his hometown, he's from Athens, right? So it's
wow, okay,
you realize if Georgia gave away those scholarships and was like, hey,
for sure. Yeah, there's no way. You think at least out of high school, but I think Syracuse is also kind of in a weird situation where so I'm not sure. I know most of the people that probably remember who Riley Dixon is also remember that he's from the area. So that went a long way, obviously, and that he was able to walk on, and that he ended up being a selection in the NFL draft in the 7th round. That may help the recruitment. I don't really know how punters even think, man. I don't know if all punters want to play in the NFL. I know a lot of them are just there to collect their scholarship money and get a free education, but I don't know. Riley's a guy that wanted to play in the NFL, and he made it. So I don't know, but he also, like I said, it helped to get him on campus because he lived in the area. And then when he did walk on, I don't think it was that crazy for him to well, I'm gonna go take a chance. It came from the area. Crazy to think about. But at the same time, that's the reason why it probably happened in the first place.
See, when I look at Sterling, I look at a little bit of his size. I don't want to take away from his leg and everything like that, but, at the end of the day, you're the last line of defense when you talk about punt returns, kick returns, and even though he did make some spectacular plays, caused a fumble one time, stuff like that. I
think he had one tackle against Duke.
Different ball game in the NFL, right? So I wonder if his size comes into play. But if they're just dealing, lagging, like what Sean said, the fact that he can kick field goals and punt at the same time, maybe that helps his chances. But again, like you said, even about Riley Dixon and how good he was, they were writing up he was throwing passes, and they had all these little. Yeah, he was fast, and he played quarterback in high school, right? So he had some skills to be able to have some trick plays out of that. And he's a fast athlete and bigger than a Hoffrichter. So if he does go, I don't see maybe late 7th just like Riley Dixon. But to me personally, I don't think he gets drafted.
Tyler, what do you think?
Neither. By the way, Riley, I knew Riley. We shared the same number in college, and he did something. He worked out every day. It was a fact. At this time, at this place, Riley will be there, and he is and he was a legitimate athlete. 6'5", over 200 pounds, could really run, like competed in the weight room. Like when it was our combine day, like he was out there like trying to prove a point. So yeah, like Riley probably could have been like, I don't know, like a minor league baseball player if he really wanted to play like center field or something like that. Like maybe like that type of athlete, versus Sterling. You're right. I kind of forgot about his size because of how large his leg played, but kind of a small guy, listed 5'9", 199. That's not a big dude. So I listen to a lot of NFL draft radio, and they have the Texas A&M punter getting drafted. And I think that's the only punter that they had getting drafted. So I don't foresee it happening. But I do think that a team like Dallas, who really needs to nail all their picks and, even needs to make their 7th-round pick count this year, could definitely see Sterling getting a preferred, a priority undrafted free agent, swooped up right away to kind of make up for the fact that they don't draft him.
And that's the thing, too, right? There's only 32 teams, 32 punters. If you're happy with your punter and they're on contract, why are you going to waste a draft pick on a punter? You're not, right? If it's anybody that, okay, maybe we need to bring a guy in here undrafted to maybe light a fire under his butt so that, motivate him to maybe get back to where the guy was before he got his contract, whatever. But you really got to be in dire straits and really, really like a kicker if you're going to go and grab one in the draft, I think.
For sure. And I just think drafting specialists in general is like ludicrous because you can even the Ravens had 2 NFL kickers, are starting kickers on their team last year. So some team just traded their 6th-round pick for him. You can just, if you're really in that big of a need, there's, available guys. There's plenty from even last year's draft that are probably, going to compete. So it's just that are free agents right now. So it's it's such a reach, I think, to go grab one, unless that guy is unless you believe he's special, But then again, punters are also different than kickers. Kickers put points on the board, yada yada.
All right, next the one we got declaring a year early, redshirt junior Tristan Jackson would have been a senior coming in this year. He's gonna dip his toes in the water and see what happens. So this one here, he's Tristan's talented kid, but I don't know. I'm skeptical of this one, unfortunately. I hate to be like that, but
yeah. Well, as when it comes to a lot of the players for Syracuse, again, you can look at the season and everything like that, but the pro days and some of the things that got canceled because of this unfortunate situation that we're dealing with, I think would have helped a lot of the guys on our team that left. That could have, if there was a way to maybe, whether it's your personality and you're interviewing, or you get the pro days and you can show them some things that maybe they didn't see on tape or maybe they didn't see at the combine, then I looked at Tristan and what he did at the combine, and it looked like he was right. He was right there in the middle with everyone. He put up some good numbers in some certain things, but it's just such a strong receiving class this year. They comes out. You got guys. They're talking about, the analysts and stuff talking about you'd be able to possibly get a starting receiver, maybe the 3rd or 4th round, because it's just so deep. So I just don't know if it was the smartest move for him coming out with this deep a pool. But it all comes down to just getting one team to like you, right?
What do you think, Tyler? What do you think, Joe? So what do you say? What are you saying? Practice squad?
I think if he gets drafted, you're talking last 2 rounds, 6th, 7th.
Okay.
Has to be.
1,050 yards receiving, 12 touchdowns. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 500-yard games. So.
He definitely had some. He was big playmaker stuff, right?
Time,
but there was some that he dropped, some easy passes he dropped, and we saw him in the Camping World Bowl for that one game, and we're like, oh, okay, can't wait till next year, fireworks, right? And he kind of got lost in some games, right? So I think he could have came out or could have stayed one more year, and I think he really probably could have dominated and probably put up close to Atatalo numbers. And again, it's an unfortunate situation, but nothing we can do about it now.
Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I just think that the toughest part for me about trying to get a hold of who he actually is, and in projecting him to that next level, is just trying to think about the fact that I'm trying to think of all the things that are the pluses in his respect, that because apparently the draft is going to be like insane this year. Like people like don't know where anybody's going to go as far as like who's getting picked where, and the no pro days, the no interviews, the no mini camps, or the teams put on their facility, that apparently like affected everything, like to the point where a lot of NFL teams are going to they're bored from the middle of like the college season, so like not even factoring in measurables at all. And then whoever went to the combine, you can use those. But I try to think about it, and I think Babers develops really good receivers and has been doing that in his programs for a long time. But then you think about, okay, well, like a guy like Terrence Williams was the guy that played in the NFL for a long time. Yeah. Yes, he was on my Cowboys. That's why I know him. But he was also, Coach Babers' developed guy, and he lasted, a couple contracts in the NFL. And then you get the guys like the Ambas, the Steve Ishmaels, the, Jamal Cusses, and you think, well, Tristan he didn't play as good as those guys played in their respective roles on our team. So I don't think that Tristan was ever really like a number one style receiver that you give the ball to and then you expect things. The way Tristan would play into the NFL as a wide receiver number 3, given how he would line up potentially in the slot, go inside, outside versatility with the speed and a little bit of size. But the problem with that is, like, I don't think that Tristan showed enough stuff in college to let teams believe that he could be that surefire number 3 receiver on an NFL team. Because I think that he played like a wide receiver number 2 at Syracuse, so it's hard to project that he would do anything more at the next level. That's kind of all I saw on tape. So I tend to agree. I think that he could have been the beneficiary of staying another year, learning with Tommy, all that stuff, and just put more on tape. Because I think that not having a Custis on the field, or just that other wide receiver that we usually have on the Syracuse team and that we've seen with Coach, it didn't really help Tristan to go get like those other routes than just a fly route or a post, because it seems like he only scored on 2 routes this past season. So.
Yep, and that's like I said, you have Irv Phillips
catch the ball and make things happen. Another guy,
I mean, that was another guy, right? Irv Phillips, and he's stuck in the NFL for. I mean, he was on the Tampa Bay, he was on the roster, he was playing games. Same thing with Ishmael. Atawa has been in and out, right? And you saw them, and they showed inconsistency. But it got to their senior year where they were kind of in a groove with the quarterback, showed consistency, put up great numbers. I don't think Tristan Jackson put up a season comparable to them, but when I look at Tristan Jackson, I'm like, he's a better receiver than them. Like,
that's
he's
the thing.
better
like,
than
it doesn't
him.
Make sense why he didn't make that jump.
So when you go and you look, I mean, yes, he did go to the combine, so that could help him, and it helps that there's other players that might not come out from, hiding, that didn't go to the combine, that might jump or overpass him because of everything that happened. But you look at his tape at Syracuse this year, you see good plays, but again, on a couple routes, and then you see inconsistency.
Right.
And I think that 1 year would have been, I think he probably could have surpassed Atawa's numbers. Work on the offseason with Tommy all year and go out there like.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like in the documentary and whatever, in the offseason, it seemed like they were close. I know that a lot of scouts or a lot of people that have been around the conference, especially that specialize in the ACC, that just said, like, you can't really understand what was even going on with their offense this year. So like they like don't even put any like credible thought into like can we grade this? They're like, for the most part, they're like, no, this is like, it's just so unrealistic, to how an NFL team would play.
They didn't have an identity, basically.
No. I think based upon where.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, based upon where he was as far as coming up, getting recruited by Michigan State, the pedigree, the athleticism's there. He went to the combine, put up good numbers. I'm sure someone will probably take a late round flyer with him. He'll definitely, if he doesn't, be one of the more prioritized undrafted free agents for sure. But it's basically off of what he could possibly do. It's not going to be off of what he's done.
All right, what about one last? This is the last one I think I've got for offense. Yes, it is. Running back Monil. 846 yards, 7 touchdowns this year. I think he's 2,560 yards, 15 touchdowns for his career at SU. So, which, man, I mean, he basically doubled his touchdown total in his senior year. So, what do you guys think?
Tyler?
Do you mind if I take the lead real quick on this one?
Yeah.
I was just going to say that, did you see the video of that guy that was like, was it the Red Zone guy that like opened up the book and was like, oh, hey, like if you want to like the NFL sends me the players report, and he's like, it's 800 pages, and it's like a scouting report on every player. And he opens up the book, and he goes like, if you want to learn something about this guy, and it's Mo Neal's like profile. And he's like, oh, hey, shout out to Mo Neal. And the guy went to Syracuse too, so it was pretty fun.
Nice.
So it got me thinking about, and I saw this last night, so I was thinking about it. And to me, I wonder in comparison, like when I try to sum up Mo Neal's career, and I also think back on how many other running backs have kind of been there in the same amount of time that he was there. And, and because Dante Strickland really had a good chance at the NFL last year, and I forget exactly what he ended up winding up being. Did he end up getting released or a practice squad, or what happened?
He get released.
Okay, but he was thought of favorably by the staff and played real well, and in what my two eyes saw. So I think like, well, again, the 10-3 scenario of Mo Neal, where he was the change-up back and he came in and was very explosive, balls out of the back. Dante kind of take the beating of the first and second down runs, and then you put Mo in that position, and then try to have Abdul Adams fit into the other role that Mo Neal used to play as HB2, and then you think like, I don't know if I liked the combo that they used. Again, kind of, I don't think a guy suffered as much as Mo Neal did with this offense to try to project himself to that next level, because I think he does have great traits. I think he would have been an outstanding XFL player, honestly. So I don't think that he personally gets drafted, but I think that we may not hear the last of Mo. I think, again, he might be a great candidate for Canadian football if he wants to try that too. But, he just suffered so much this year, was beaten up way too much. I think he was played in the wrong role, looking back on it. So, no, I think he's kind of the guy that gets the short end.
Yeah, I think the pro days and that kind of stuff, this is the type of situation where I talk about where it would have helped somebody like him if there was something. Because, again, we do know how horrendous that offensive line was for the first 3 quarters of the season. So I challenge any running back to have success with what was going on there. But I look at size and I look at he's not going to be an every down back in the NFL. He's probably not going to be able to pass block in the NFL. So again, unless a team has a specific need and they really like him and they're like, all right, come in for a third down, change of pace back, like an Eckler for the Chargers or something like that, come out, maybe catch some passes from the backfield, then possibly. But again, we didn't have that off-season stuff for a team to really fall in love with Mo Neal. And he's not really the biggest guy either, right? So I think because of that, he suffers. And again, he'll definitely be an undrafted free agent for a team that might want him in that role. But I don't see a team taking a risk on drafting him.
All right. So that was it for anybody I forgot on offense. That's it, I think.
Well, there's Evan Adams, but I haven't really heard too much talk about him. So
no, I know. That's why I was saying.
Any offensive line play for Syracuse has to be rectified so much before we start talking about them in the NFL.
So yeah, 100%. We'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Linebacker Lakeem Williams, he came on late. He did. In fact, he was probably one of my favorite players on defense last year. I thought he was pretty good. He really started to come on. But is he NFL material, you guys?
No.
Yeah.
No chance. I don't think there's a relative chance. Like, I think the guys like him, they're not around in the NFL anymore, unfortunately.
It's too bad too, because he is he's one of those guys who's a kind of he gets after it. He plays hard.
Yeah.
Plays really hard. And he's fun to watch.
And he's a classic middle linebacker.
Yeah.
No, 100%. It's just he doesn't have the size to play middle linebacker in the NFL. So again, it comes back to the size, right? If he had Andrew Armstrong's size, then we might be singing a different tune right now, right? But to me, he looks like someone he's got a better chance if he had the speed to maybe make a transition to like a strong safety or one of those secondary guys that can come in the box, make those tackles and help the run game, but still be able to go back and do pass protection. And I just don't, again, I don't see he was amazing as far as like he started coming on that Duke game. He was all over the place. He was getting double-digit tackles all the time.
He was always in the backfield. He only had 4.5 sacks, but
right. But when you talk, the NFL is a different animal, man.
Yeah,
obviously you have a linebacker like that rushing in, and all that is one arm from a tackle, and that's it. It's gone. He's over. And so, again, this is another situation. Again, a lot of it is Syracuse traditionally, recently, hasn't put in a lot of guys in the draft, even if they've had good tapes, put up good stats, right? They always have to go and prove themselves, undrafted free agency, that kind of stuff. And so just going by just history alone and the fact of who went to the combine, who didn't, and what it looks like. I mean, the undersized guys like that, especially not having pro days and stuff, I just don't see it.
All right, well, fair enough. We've got a couple more left, but before we get into those, I want to tell you about the good folks over at Simply Safe. Now, look, with home security, as you well know, there's two ways you can go about this, protecting your home, that is. There's the traditional way, where you wait weeks for a technician to do a messy installation that costs you a small fortune, or there's the other way. That's the Simply Safe way. Simply Safe is everything you need in a home security system. It's award-winning protection, 2-time winner of the CNET Editor's Choice Award. Simply Safe blankets your whole home in safety. You get comprehensive protection for your entire home. Outdoor cameras and doorbells alert you to anyone approaching your home. And entry in motion and glass break sensors guard the inside. Now, the R&D on the glass break sensors and things that guard the inside of the home is second to none. It's absolutely amazing. So, and the best part is you barely notice it's there. But something else that's remarkable is that you can set this up all by yourself. You don't have to have anyone come do it for you. Anyone could do it. It takes about 30 minutes to an hour tops, and there's absolutely no trade-offs for your safety. So you'll have an army of highly trained security experts ready to dispatch police to your home in a moment's notice, 24/7, and it's only 50 cents a day. No contracts. This is the best part because you've got all these companies that are charging you $50, $60, $70 a month to monitor your home. Well, if you're going in vacation in July and you don't really need it any other time, or maybe a couple more times throughout the year, you just pay for July. As little as $15 a month to protect your home for that month, and then you can cancel the contract when you're done. It's why Verge calls Simply Safe the best home security system. So go to simplysafe.com/team today, and you'll get free shipping and a 60-day risk-free trial. You've got nothing to lose. Go there now, simplysafe.com/team. That's simplysafe.com/team. Thank you, Simply Safe. All right, look, the next one on our list here is Kendall Coleman, and 6'3", 253 pounds. Last year, 4 sacks, 10.5 tackles for loss, 48 total, 137 in his career. 26.5 tackles for loss in his career, and 15.5 sacks total for his career. So this is another one kind of on the fence. I mean, what do you guys think? Kind of a low pick? Does he get in at all? What's up?
I've seen him as highly rated as the 175th player in the draft, and 256 selections are made. Now, so that's just he's the 175th best player. Okay, so, but quarterback 4 may come off the board before the first DN does. So it's not always comparable to if you're player 175, that means you get picked 175. Not quite that. But I think he's a lock to be a New England Patriot at pick 200. I think that makes all the sense in the world. Or a place like Seattle, where they're like, hey, look, we know you do this one thing real well, which is running down the line of scrimmage and, setting the edge and playing the run, and then potentially getting a sack here or there, and then potentially feasting off of, lower level talent. Okay. So if we know that's exactly what you're going to do, I think, I think Bill Belichick, sees the value in that, at pick 200, and even then from pick 200 to 250, that's the 6th and 7th round. I think that's very fair for a guy that had 10 sacks in one season. Not everybody does that. Granted, again, lower production level last year, but Syracuse produced a lot lower last year in general. So, I mean, there's that.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got a real good chance. When you read his profile, read up on some of the stories, he's been working with Robert Mathis, the ex-Indianapolis Colt, right, ex-NFL player. So there's some politics in place where, that definitely. And also, when you want to talk about character, he's been a starter since a freshman. He's been looked at as a captain-like teammate since the sophomore year. Granted, he has gone through some injuries, and that's probably why his stats aren't up there. 6'3", 257, not the biggest defensive end, right? But he's not coming in to be a starter. And, like you said, it helps when you're working with an NFL player. And again, I think a lot of it comes down to just his character. He's a high character player. He's a team player. He's
probably the highest character guy.
Yeah. And so he's going to go in and he's going to say, okay, what do you need me to do? I'm going to do it. And like you said, perfect Belichick player. If he doesn't get drafted, it's, I think, sheerly going to be because of his injury past. That's it. To me personally.
That could happen. I think, though, with it being defensive end in this NFL now, I think it's just like it's such a high premium on those picks that I don't think that there's any way that a team could realistically go into the draft thinking that, that they feel safe with him being undrafted and that's how that they're going to go get him. I think that at some point they're going to be like, shoot, like two teams might be like looking at him, maybe 3 or 4 might be looking at him in the 6th, and then one team just goes, shoot, we'll take him with the first pick in the 7th, type of deal. And I think that's kind of where I see it going for him. But he also tore up the, all the offseason stuff as well. Going to an all-star game, did real well in his bowl game. Everybody loved him at the practices. Put out great highlights. All the draft nerds really like his, potential or, whatever they saw at the East-West games. So, I mean, I think that those type of guys typically get their shot. Again, weird size, but hey, that's what he's got. And I think he'll, but I saw him in person and he didn't look that, he doesn't look bad.
Right.
Doesn't look like he doesn't look like Chandler Jones.
He seems to me, right. He seems to me like that guy that like no team's going to jump for, but then it's going to get to the 7th round and teams are going to look down and they're going to be like, oh, he's still there. Why isn't he drafted? Right. So
right.
All right. Well, I think I saved the best for last here. Another lineman, Alton Robinson, 6'4", 260. His totals for his time at Syracuse: 115 tackles. 32.5 for loss, 19.5 sacks.
Only 2 years,
That's
right?
A lot of sacks, man. Yeah, for that short amount of time.
Yeah,
that's insane.
It's pretty good. Only 4.5 last season, but for obvious reasons,
Well, I mean, sadly, this is he's the only guy that's guaranteed to get drafted.
Yeah,
I know that we're sitting here, we're optimistic on some guys, and I think we could probably have up to 4 get drafted, but he's really the only guy that's guaranteed, to be perfectly honest, as far as I'm concerned.
What do you think, Ty?
What's funny, too, is that he probably is between the guys from last year and this year, he's probably like the best player in the past years, or the most projectable player we've had in the past however many years. And, it's funny because you think about, like, let's say he gets drafted in the 3rd round. Like, that'd be awesome for him. And going to Joe's point, it's like, and I don't think it's that far out of the question either. I think a team could really talk themselves into it. This is a very, very, very top heavy with like one real guy that's worth a 1st-round pick at defensive end this year. So, when you put it in that perspective, when most of the guys that are going to be defensive ends that come off the board will be in rounds 2 and 3. So if somebody's like, hey, look, Alton's my guy and I need him to, fill my slot, I could see the 3rd round for him. But, you think of guys and that's, you kind of got to put his career in perspective. Then it's like, did he have a Jay Bromley type of career? A guy that's, this isn't fair to, but when you think about guys that get drafted, like Eric Dungeon drafted, Custis doesn't get drafted. All these guys go undrafted. Then all of a sudden you see a guy like Alton Robinson and you're kind of like, oh, wow, here's an NFL guy. So I think it kind of feels refreshing that, another guy like a Justin Pugh or a Chandler Jones kind of comes through. And I think what I'm trying to say ultimately that this will be big moving forward for even in a down year that we have a guy get drafted so high. So I think that he absolutely gets drafted. I think it's a home run. The safe round, I think, would be round 4. But the round that I think I talked myself into is late round 3, top 100 pick type of talent.
How is all this going to go down with, is this all going to be like a virtual draft? We're going to have to...
I think as the same way we're talking right now, that's how the NFL draft is going to be, which is crazy.
Yep.
People are probably so jonesing for something sports, though. I bet you it gets huge numbers.
Yeah, definitely will.
I mean,
Definitely will.
I'm one of those guys. I'll put the draft on like the first couple rounds, and it'll just be on. And if I see something interesting, I'll stop and watch it. But I can't sit there and watch it. There's too much filler.
It garners my attention for 3 days.
Yeah, I know it does.
Same. I unplug my cell phone. I unplug my landline. I unplug the modem. It's like it's me in the draft. Those are the only two things that exist.
And this is why I think it's going to be huge. We're jonesing for sports so bad. It's coming up next week. Yeah, it's like the next big thing to hit.
At least it makes it seem like it's everything. Again, it's not going to be the same type of draft, not live and everything, but at least it makes people feel like, okay, we're moving forward. There's going to be an NFL season.
Right.
They're drafting. They're picking a team, right? And going to Tyler's point, too, again, that's huge because you remember when we talked about recruiting and he kind of liked it to the college football recruiting, right? And what's one of those variables in there, right? Pro potential. And so when you have these high school recruits that sit there and they look and they're like, oh, the only players that have been drafted from Syracuse in the last however many years are punters. Now, that's awesome. Like that, there's a stigma there. So to be able to get
not that great, man.
No, it's not that
easy to sell.
Right.
It's really not.
Now, it might explain why we keep getting good punters, but
it makes a lot of sense.
but right. So again, this is definitely going to help, and we don't know how it'll help until recruiting goes up and stuff like that. But he's definitely the surefire guy. And just to kind of not leave other people out, because I have read some things, and I don't know what you've read as well, Tyler, but I don't know about getting drafted because, again, I think these are two players that I don't know if you read the article on Inside the Loud House about Evan Foster and everything that happened to him and how since week 3 this past season he had some type of tear in his adductor muscle. He had some groin issues, and he played throughout the whole season with that issue, and he thinks that really kind of hurt him. And I guess there's been some scouts that have been kind of saying some good things. And also Christopher Frederick is a pretty decently sized cornerback. Yeah. So again, I think these are guys, again, pro days would have helped these guys out tremendously, but I don't see them getting drafted, but it's one of those things where I can definitely see them getting undrafted free agency and have a chance to make a roster.
Yeah, so Evan Foster was really the type of guy that I was thinking about as far as like Lakeem Williams is like, that would definitely be like if Lakeem wanted to play in the NFL, like you'd have to be Evan Foster. I don't know. I think that Evans just had such a weird career, man. Yeah. Like he definitely had the trust of the coach. He lost the fan support, that's for sure. I hate whenever that happens, just because it's like, come on, man, like the kids are trying. But Chris Frederick, he was the guy that I was like really wanted to see actually be that guy this year that was really going to like be a key contributor and step up and become a draft pick, because I think that he did raise his play so much between his sophomore and junior season, and then this year I just didn't see, like I thought he was going to put in one more of those leaps.
They didn't really throw that much to his side though too. If you go back and look,
I think the other side's just been kind of, it's been iffy when he's healthy, and then, he's not healthy, and then, we're putting another guy in there, and then all of a sudden, it's just a sliding doors effect. When corner 2 goes down, then all of a sudden we're playing corner 3, and then corner 1 doesn't play as well when corner 2 isn't, it's just, I hate it so much. And then Cisco's out all year, so then nobody has help over the top. It's, God, man, what a brutal year.
Yeah.
I think, you give, because like I like him a lot. I thought he played good football at one point in his career, and I think that's coachable again in the next level. If you're playing a team, or if you're playing on a team that has great D line and safety support, I think that he could fit in. But then again, that's what everybody wants: good D line and safety play. So
yeah. I just think they have the side. I mean, Evan Foster, he came up and he played really well in run support. What got me was his angles when it came to guys hitting the slants and getting stuff across the middle a lot of times. And then you hear this story and you're like, well, he was a little injured. Maybe I feel a little bad calling him out, right? Because maybe that had something to do with it, right? But between that and like Christopher Frederick, to me, I thought that he was great man-to-man, get him to go up there, press, stuff like that. I thought that zone, he kind of left a little more to be desired. But again, that's the good thing about going to the pros is you have teams that know exactly what they want, exactly what they are looking for, and they are picking players specifically for just a play here, a drive there, a situation there, right? So again, I think unfortunately I don't think they're going to get drafted, but I think those are two guys that I think have a really good shot at making a roster or possibly even a practice squad with a team after the draft.
Sure. Special teams is the way that those guys make rosters.
Yep.
Special teams. So
just like
that's
Custis.
the biggest thing. Yeah, man. Or like guy like, again, I have all these Cowboys comparisons, but Luke Gifford last year came out of the Mountain West, and I think he was a UNLV guy and made the team because he was, just a badass special teamer. So it's possible, and he's still on the roster.
Yeah, it's pretty funny when that happens. You got to go from like, you're a special teamer in college and you're making your way up, and then you become the man, and then all of a sudden it becomes full circle and you got to do it all over again.
all over.
Yep.
That's how it goes.
All right. Any final thoughts before we sign off, gentlemen?
No, sir.
No?
I do not want. I love the draft so much. Like, I cannot wait until Syracuse is putting guys in the league consistently. Like, I feel so deprived of that. Like, my favorite thing growing up was watching all the guys from LA that went to like LA high schools and then LA colleges make it into the NFL. Like,
Yep.
That's such a cool feeling. And then now it's like the school I went to and played for like doesn't even put guys in the league. So
It's like you don't even got to watch till Saturday.
Well, we got, we got some guys coming in. We got some guys coming in.
Do. I think we'll be fine in like the next year, depending on how this goes. But I think we'll be fine moving forward. It's just like, it's a waiting game, But it's funny because like once our guys do get into the NFL, they play well. All things like Pugh, Chandler. Granted these guys like weren't coached by the same staff, but it's really more about like the school and what the school brings and what the program is. Like that's what molds you as like a man, and that's what gives you your character. The coach just kind of puts the finishing touches on, who you're going to be down the road. So, and I'm excited. I think we got good guys too, like genuinely good dudes. So, you'd like to see them get paid.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens this week with the NFL draft. I want to thank everybody for listening and coming on. I want to thank Simply Safe and LinkedIn. For Joe and Tyler, I'm Sean. We're out.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Cuse Militia podcast, the fan's voice with Sean and Joe.